Okay, welcome back. So we're going to make a start on the solutioning for the big boss round challenge. Hopefully you've got through it okay. If you're sort of stuck and you're needing these videos to help move you along, that's just what we'll do. I don't have sort of the full 3 hours to sit down right now, but I want to give you enough time to sort of make a start on this. And like I said, there's going to be multiple iterations on these videos. So the solutioning is quite an involved process. But anyway, let's jump in and have a look. Okay, cool. So when you start getting into causal analysis, whether you're doing sort of accident investigation or you're doing process improvement and transformation roles, and again, whether you're dealing with sort of that single outcome event or multi-outcome event, okay, the process is still pretty much the same. Now, there are a lot of ways you can do this. I find this way to be optimal. I like to start with a dilo. I take a lot of pictures. I get photographic evidence. I take videos of the process wherever I can because I can go back and watch those videos. We get diagrams of the products. We like to look at process flows and things like that. So you get you gather as many of the artifacts and get as much of the evidence as you can when you first start out. Now, in the Big Boss Round Challenge, I took you into the dilo. So dilo is day in the life of, okay, dilo. Now, I took you into that dilo. So you have pretty much everything you need. Now, some things, like we don't have diagrams of the house and we don't have blueprints and we don't necessarily know what everything is called, but you have enough there to make a pretty good start and I think to work through this. So let's begin this way. Let's start with some of the pictures from that dilo. And I just want to take this first session to show how I lay it out and also give you some orientation because the orientation might be a little bit challenging for you to work out from the video because I know it's moving around a lot and we kind of jump in the attic, but you're maybe not sure where the doorway is and things like that. So let's have a look at that now. The very first image we sort of start out with is this one here. When you're with the customer and you're doing this dilo, it is really, really important that you get, especially if there's an event like an accident or something like that, you need as much evidence as you can, as many pictures as you can get, because that scene, that environment won't probably look like that if you go back there again, right? If some period of time has passed. And in terms of accessibility, or getting access to a location or a room or an environment or a team or an individual, you might only ever get one shot, okay? So take as many videos or as many photos as you can to capture that point in time. So you saw this video, all right? Now, what was actually going on here, or in this image was, we saw that part of the roof, this is the laser level here, so the laser level is running that way, okay? So we saw here that there was a difference in the height from the ceiling to the laser level, right? So if this side's higher and the other side of the house is higher, that means that the droop is going, and I'm going to kind of over accentuate this, is going something like that, okay? So that was our starting point. So I would begin initially by just putting that in the middle. So we say, okay, I kind of know where I am in this picture. And then from there, we jumped up into the attic, okay? Now this one was a little bit harder. So when we were in the attic, I gave you this message and I said that the doorway is, this is directly above the doorway. So the doorway is sitting here. And again, you probably can't see this blue on, there's another color here. Let's try green. Yeah, there we go. So the doorway is sort of sitting this way, right? So that means the doorway is here. So you're looking above that. And I'll show you a diagram for this in a second. This picture here is the same picture, but just without the text. So the doorway is this section here. That's the door. Okay. Now, the orientation of this picture relative to these other two pictures is a little bit sort of wonky, but what you have here, call that image 1, is this image. That's image 1. I don't know if that's a 1 or a 7 or some other interesting character. But So you can kind of match those up, right? These are the same. So this is the left-hand side. As we look at the door, this is the left-hand side of the door, and you can see a bunch of stuff going on there. And then that means that this side over here is this side. Let me just move this over just so the camera's on the way. Okay, so this is the other side, and again, there's stuff going on there that you can look at. Okay, so that's above the doorway. Now, and again, I'll show you some diagrams in a second. The next place we went, and I'll zoom out just quickly, we went downstairs into the attic, into the crawl, the crawl space. And in the crawl space, I took multiple shots. And again, this was probably difficult to understand, but I said at one point we were directly below the door. So there's a pier. You can see that there's a pier here. Okay. That is direct. Basically, it's kind of like right here. And I'll show you what this looks like in just a second. That means that to the left was this one here. So this would be, no, I'm not going to draw on the numbers just yet. And then the other one was at the very end of the house. But there's something happening with the orientation. So let's pull in some of these sketches here. So if we put the house in here, okay, there's your doorway. Let's get oriented. There's my doorway there. Move this over just a little bit. Okay. The piers that sit under the house are running this way. Okay. So where we first started was right in here. Okay. So the piers sit this way. That means the beam is running along the house, oops, like so. So if this is image 1, or actually let's call this image 4. Image 4 is taken here. Okay, and that means image 5, which was this one. Image 5 is taken on the other side over here. But I don't know why I just wrote 6 in there. Image 5 is taken here. Okay, and actually this is moved down just slightly. It's not quite exactly to scale. Like this house, this room is probably, it's probably more sitting, probably something like that is probably a better orientation. But anyway, you get the idea. All right, and then the last thing was, then the last one was number 6. So that means 6 is taken all the way back here. So what's actually happening is you're getting the heights, and you should be looking at this. Let me blow it up so you can see. You should be looking at this reading, okay, on the speed square. Same for this one, okay. There's a reading right here. Look, oops, kind of down a little bit more, right there, okay. Same thing on this one, right there, okay. So if you look at image number 5, so go zoom out. So if you look at image number 5, and let's line this up. This is why I was kind of moving the house forward. Image 5 is about like that. Okay? So you can see the drooping house, or the drooping roof, I should say, is doing this. Actually, it needs to move over slightly. Let's get it perfectly oriented. It's about like that. Okay? So the drooping ceiling then is doing this thing here, like that. So points 4 and 5 are taken this way. So one's on the other side of the room, and one's on the, I don't know, the forward side of the room. Okay? Then the other thing that we had were in the attic space, we had the joists running across this way. And let's just move these into position. And again, I'll blow this up for you so you can kind of see a little bit better. Oops, not that one. I want this one. Okay, they're kind of sitting. Actually, they're sitting about like that. Okay, so let's zoom in here. Okay, so it's looking something like this, right? And I'll give you the numbers too, just so you can see those numbers. What do we have? We had 1 was on the left side and 2 was on the right side. So in that case, what you would have for the numbers is you would have 1 sitting over here, and you'd have 2 sitting here. Okay. Now, obviously, I didn't give you all of this because the point is, you've got to figure out when you go into the Dilo how all of these pieces fit together. So before I even start creating the causal landscape diagram where I'm putting the images in there, the elements in there, I start getting my photographic evidence. I get my diagrams. I get any sketches I have. I get any pictures of the products and how the products decompose into their subcomponent parts as well, if you can get that. And that's what we've started doing here. We've taken the system, which in our case is the house, and I've broken the system into subsystem components, right? So you can see there's a beam there. I've got piers here. I've got the room. I've got the drooping ceiling. I've got the subsystem, which is up in the roof, okay? And the subsystem components in the roof. So we've started to bring these pieces together. Once you have this, it's going to start to make it easier to, number one, identify your objects, right? And also frame up your spaces. Okay, you can see that there's 3 distinct spaces here within one sort of what we call system, or if you want to refer to it as a super system, you can think of that super system as the house. Okay, anyway, I don't want to throw you off with all the jargon, but think about your space and think about your objects here. Okay, so this is how I would make a start. All right, now you might already see, depending upon what you've done, that maybe you've missed some things or maybe you didn't have the orientation right. So if that's the case, go back and do another iteration. Make sure you understand the images here. You might even sketch some of this out yourself so that you are better oriented to the locations and the places within the house and also how some of these objects are laid out. So anyway, this is the start. Hopefully this is helping you. I'll come back in the next video and we'll actually start to build out this causal landscape diagram again. But this is where I would begin. And it's a really good case, and it's a really not case in point. It's a really good point to note that whenever you're doing any kind of causal analysis and you go into a Dilo, if you look at this, even if you start working on it like later in the day, you're gonna forget stuff. You're gonna miss things. Guaranteed. You're gonna miss details. And the other thing that typically happens is, unfortunately, as soon as we start working on it, we realize, you know what? Maybe if you went into the house, you're like, I didn't get a good look at whatever. Maybe it was the others. Maybe it was the measurements from here to here along the basement, and you didn't actually see what the spacing was. Oh. But the problem is we don't sort of think of that stuff until we begin the analysis. But the point I want to make is, when you get in to do these types of analysis or analyses, is that a word? When you get in to do this stuff, take as many pictures, get as many videos as you can, get the images, the documentation, the process flows, so that you can start to construct your causal landscape diagram in a way that's going to set you up for success. So anyway, there's part 1 of the solutioning. From here, I would say, and I don't want to lead you too much, but I would say create your time and space, right? And then start to identify your objects. Okay, and then you can build the functions after that. All right, good luck. We'll see you soon.